Thank you, Jason.
Good afternoon. Strange seeing this large room not fully packed as normal. Good afternoon. My name is Kathy Lanier, and I'm the Chief Security Officer for the NFL. Welcome to our annual Public Safety Press Conference for Super Bowl 55. Before I begin, I'd like to take just a moment of silence to recognize the two FBI agents that lost their life in the line of duty yesterday while serving a warrant here in Florida. Thank you. As we do every year, we are here today to discuss matters related to the safety and security of the Super Bowl. If there are other matters that you wish to discuss with myself or other members of the panel, if you could refrain from asking those questions until after we conclude this press conference. I am joined today, both virtually and in person, by our local, state, and federal public safety partners. Joining me in person, appropriately distanced at the table, is David Pekoski, Deputy Secretary, Department of Homeland Security, Scott McAllister, Director of Southeast Coastal Region Homeland Security Investigations, and he's also our federal coordinator, Michael Mcpherson, Special Agent in charge of the FBI, Chief Brian Dugan, Chief of Police, City of Tampa, Sheriff Chad Cronister, Sheriff Hillsborough County. We'd also like to acknowledge the great support that we've gotten from our key partners appearing here virtually in the Zoom display. These key partners include Chief Barbara Tripp from the Tampa Fire Rescue, Chief Dennis Jones from Hillsborough County Fire Rescue, Major Joseph Franza from Florida Highway Patrol, Chief Charlie Vasquez from Tampa International Airport Police, Special Agent in Charge Mark Brutnell from the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, and all of our partners from various departments in the Department of Homeland Security. Each of these individuals represents those that help with fire and rescue, air and maritime security, and those dedicated to our larger law enforcement public safety mission. I will start off today by saying it has been an absolute pleasure to work alongside the Tampa Bay Host Committee, our public health partners, and the brave men and women from the public safety agencies in Tampa, Hillsborough County, and the surrounding region. We have just a couple of goals that we want to accomplish at this press conference today. First and foremost, we want to provide you with the information that you need to safely and securely enjoy Super Bowl 55 here in Tampa. We will discuss some of the details of the comprehensive security plan that we put in place, and we also want to provide you with some details on what to expect when you arrive if you have a ticket for the game. And then we'll take questions. As always, Super Bowl 55 has been designated by the Department of Homeland Security as a Tier 1 event. This is a special event assessment rating, which is the highest security rating below a National Special Security Event, or NSSE, which is the designation for the presidential inauguration. This assessment rating does not mean that there are any specific or credible threats to Super Bowl 55, but it does provide extensive resources to ensure that our event is safe and secure. As you'll hear throughout this press conference today, we've engaged and have the support of more than 70 federal, state, local, and private sector public safety and security professionals here working with us on Super Bowl. Since these are your frontline workers, the existence of COVID-19 did not inhibit their commitment to the security planning process over the past year. We have planned, trained, and exercised with all of those partners extensively, both virtually and in person. So let's discuss what you can expect when you arrive. Parking lots will open at 2 p.m. and general public gates will open at 2:30 p.m. to allow plenty of time for people to arrive over the course of several hours. There'll be no tailgating permitted in any of the NFL-controlled parking lots, and parking accommodations will be managed with a cashless, contactless transactions and touchless parking passes. We ask that you put on your mask when you leave your car and head towards the stadium, and you must wear your mask before you enter the queue lines. To reduce contact and for your safety, your tickets are digital. We ask that you please download those tickets for the game on your phone before you leave your home, so we can expedite your access into the stadium. As you pass through security screening, your tickets will be scanned, and you will be provided with a safety kit, which includes a KN95 mask and a hand sanitizer. Game Day Fan Plaza will be open and active to allow for us to bring guests in over a longer period of time. The concourses, concession areas, and restrooms are clearly marked for physical distancing, and there are hand sanitizing stations every several feet. Tickets have been sold in pods or groups to ensure that physical distancing remains, so you must remain in your assigned seating area. Masks are required to be worn at all times while in the stadium, except while actively eating and drinking. Our guest services and volunteer teams will be out there to remind you to wear your mask as you enter the stadium, throughout the game, and upon your exit. Just a reminder that the area in and around Raymond James Stadium will have temporary flight restrictions in place that prohibits the use of drones. Those restrictions are as follows. Flight restrictions currently underway along the City of Tampa Riverwalk prohibits drone or UAS operations and covers a 2 nautical mile area, and they will be in place through February 7th at approximately 11 p.m. Flight restrictions on February 7th, Super Bowl game day. Pre-game, there are flight restrictions for 1 nautical mile around Raymond James Stadium for all manned and unmanned aircraft from 10 a.m. in the morning until 5:30 p.m. And then at 5:30 p.m., that expands to 30 miles around Raymond James Stadium. And that will remain in place until an hour after the game. So now I'm going to turn it over to our partners to provide specific comments from each of the agencies, and then we will take questions at the end. So now I'm happy to turn this over to David Pekoski, the Acting Deputy Secretary, Department of Homeland Security. Thank you, David.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Kathy, and thank you all for coming today. It has been a great honor to serve as the Acting Secretary of Homeland Security the last 2 weeks, but I am now addressing you, as Kathy mentioned, as the Acting Deputy Secretary, as the Senate just yesterday confirmed our new Secretary of Homeland Security, Alejandro Mayorkas. On behalf of the Secretary, I'd like to express our condolences to our colleagues in the Federal Bureau of Investigation on the deaths of Special Agents Daniel Alfin and Laura Schwarzenberger yesterday, and 3 special agents who were injured in that unfortunate incident. We wish all the injured a speedy recovery, and our condolences to their Bureau colleagues and certainly to the families of those who have been killed. Today, I'd like to share with you a little bit about the threats we face, our focused efforts to protect Super Bowl 55 on Sunday, and how we are working with our partners. The Department of Homeland Security was formed in 2003 to better coordinate the prevention of terrorism and protect the American people, our infrastructure, and our way of life. For the most part, we continue to face the same threats we did on September 11, 2001. Transnational terrorists, cyber criminals, transnational gangs, criminal organizations, and domestic violent extremists. At this time, one particular area of concern is domestic violent extremism. While there is no specific or credible threat to Super Bowl 55, it is a high-profile event, and security preparations are designed accordingly. We released a National Terrorism Advisory System bulletin on January 27th concerning the increased threat of domestic violent extremism, and we are closely monitoring these threats in cooperation with our federal, state, and local partners. At the same time, we cannot discount the threat posed by transnational terrorist organizations or inspired lone wolf actors. The Internet has made it possible for terrorists across the globe to radicalize and train people in the United States. We must remain prepared to defend the United States from these terrorists. Athletes learn to never take their eye off the ball. The players on the field know that the whole game may depend on it. A ball dropped, a catch missed or made can determine victory or defeat. Security of the homeland is no different. Our people know they can't take their eye off the ball. They know that a miscue or a slow response can spell disaster. This is a nationwide 24/7, 365 job, but is especially true in an event like this. The Super Bowl is an attractive target for terrorists and criminals, so we never take our eye off the ball. A robust posture and focused vigilance are necessary to prevent bad people from doing bad things and to deter adversaries from attempting an attack. The Super Bowl is an annual highlight for tens of millions of Americans, and it is what we call a Special Event Assessment Rating 1, or SEER 1 event. This is the highest level of security because of its national significance. A Super Bowl is more than a terrorism target. It can also present opportunities for human traffickers, the sale of counterfeit goods, and other criminal activity. It requires extraordinary planning, extensive coordination with our partners, and expansive security measures. While the football teams are on the field, we will be all around it. We know we can't do this job alone, and there are no solo players. It is a team effort. The first line of defense is our state and local partners. They know the terrain best, the people, the local culture, the neighborhoods. The Tampa Police Department, with federal, state, and local law enforcement partners, has been working around the clock to prepare for this weekend for more than a year, assessing security requirements, looking for vulnerabilities, conducting joint operational planning, and testing procedures. In addition to the outstanding efforts of the Tampa Police Department, the FBI, and the NFL security team, the Super Bowl is being supported by more than 500 Department of Homeland Security personnel. Leading DHS's efforts is our federal coordinator, Regional Director Scott McAllister of the DHS Office of Intelligence and Analysis. Director McAllister and his federal coordination team have been working with our partners to ensure that the Super Bowl is secured through measures both seen and unseen. These efforts include extensive planning, threat tracking, enhanced preventive measures, supporting security operations, and emergency preparedness in the event of an incident. I also want to ask for the assistance of perhaps our greatest security partner, the American people themselves. It is remarkable how many times Americans going about their daily lives have noticed something off or out of place, brought it to the attention of officials, and foiled the plot. Richard Reed, the so-called shoe bomber, nearly brought down an aircraft, but was thwarted by people who noticed his odd activities and took appropriate action. The Times Square bombing attempt in 2010 was foiled because people nearby saw something wrong and notified officials. In short, if you see something, say something. This is not an easy job. We need to know if bad actors are planning something, but we cannot and will not compromise American civil rights and civil liberties in the process. We must coordinate with multiple federal, state, and local entities and be able to communicate rapidly and synchronize complex operations. It is not easy, but it is our job and our duty. The hard work, dedication, and expertise of our professional workforce is why we have been called to help secure every Super Bowl since the department was created. DHS is proud to support the City of Tampa to ensure the security of Super Bowl 55. And again, I thank you, all of our partners represented here. Let's have a safe and secure Super Bowl. I'd be happy to take your questions at the appropriate time. Thank you.
Thank you, David. I have the privilege of coming from law enforcement in the Washington, D.C. area and have had an opportunity to work with several of our federal partners. And my pleasure now to introduce one of those partners who I've had the pleasure to work with, Scott McAllister, Director of the Southeast Coastal Region, Homeland Security Investigations.
Thank you, Chief Lanier. The actual Super Bowl is the final stitch in a tapestry of various events and locations within the Tampa area, including several hotels, 2 different practice facilities, the convention center, and other locations like the NFL Experience and, of course, the stadium. All of those locations require bomb suites, radiological detection efforts, uniform and plainclothes police presence, emergency medical services, fire department services, road closures, and traffic control. All this in the midst of a pandemic. For over a year now, DHS has been shoulder to shoulder with our federal, state, local, and private sector partners, collaborating and cementing relationships, especially with the Tampa Police Department, the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office, and the NFL. In particular, working almost daily with Deputy Chief Ruben Delgado from the Tampa Police Department and Chief Deputy Donna Lazinski from the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office, as well as Jill Ramsden from the NFL. I would be remiss if I didn't publicly thank Special Agent in Charge Mike Mcpherson from the Tampa Division of the FBI and Special Agent Mark Burnell, Special Agent in Charge of the Florida Department of Law Enforcement in Tampa. Within DHS on the Zoom site, you can see some of the DHS leadership from the Tampa area who are instrumental in providing their assistance in a one DHS approach. I'd like to publicly thank their leadership and collaboration, as well as my coordination teammates, Billy Sasser from the Cybersecurity and Critical Infrastructure Security Agency, and also Mike Cochran with Homeland Security Investigations. Without them, my job would be tremendously more difficult. So with that, I'm available for questions at the appropriate time, and I just wish everyone to have a safe and exciting Super Bowl this year. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. Now I'll introduce Michael Mcpherson, our Special Agent in charge of the FBI.
Thank you, Chief. Good afternoon. I'm Michael Mcpherson, the Special Agent in charge of the FBI's Tampa Division. I want to welcome the NFL and its fans to Tampa. It's exciting to be a part of history with the host city having its team in the Super Bowl. I assure you the FBI, along with the law enforcement and public safety partners here with me today, have planned, prepared, and practiced to make this a historic Super Bowl safe and secure. I want to commend the Tampa Police Department, the lead law enforcement agency for Super Bowl 55, for doing a great job organizing and overseeing this effort. We all know that football is a team sport, but security is a team sport as well. We all have a role to play in making the big event a big win for public safety. The FBI's game plan includes intelligence sharing, providing investigative, analytical, and technical resources, as well as personnel that are ready for security issues or emergency issues which may arise. The FBI will utilize more than 300 agents, analysts, and support personnel to execute our mission. We have activated our Intelligence Operations Center, staffed not only by the FBI, but with law enforcement partners from 17 federal, state, and local agencies to rapidly collect, analyze, and share threat information. There are no credible threats to the Super Bowl or any related activity at this moment. We will continue to evaluate intelligence and share information that we receive from around the world with our law enforcement partners. In addition to our intelligence gathering and analysis, we've set in motion capabilities to include ground and air surveillance, tactical and technical operations, crisis negotiations, hazardous device disruption, and drone mitigation. About drones, the Super Bowl is a no-drone zone. Leave your drones home. The Federal Aviation Administration has temporary flight restrictions in place. If you're a drone operator, be aware of these restrictions and comply with them. If you don't, you could face civil penalties exceeding $30,000 and criminal prosecution. Another public safety concern which we will address with our law enforcement partners this week is human trafficking, whether it's sex or labor trafficking. Although we investigate human trafficking every day of the year, not just during major special events, the law enforcement agencies on this stage today are taking this opportunity to remind the public to be aware of this crime and help us identifying potential victims. If you have information, call your local law enforcement agency or the FBI. One of the most important partners law enforcement has is you, the public. Many times we are alerted to potential threats by a member of the public reaching out to us to report suspicious activity. Our goal is your safety. We ask that you remain aware of your surroundings this week, and of course, if you see something, say something. We thank you in advance for your valuable assistance. The only thing we want you to worry about is who will win the game. Please leave the rest of the worrying to us. Have fun and enjoy the game.
Thanks, Mike. And now I'll turn it over to Chief Dugan, City of Tampa.
Thank you. You know, it's been an interesting year since we started really getting hot and heavy a year ago. You know, we sent a contingency down, and you know, this is a City of Tampa event, but the City of Tampa falls within Hillsborough County, and so I thank my counterpart and friend Chad Chronister for your assistance. Nobody does this alone. Like she talked about, there's 70 different agencies involved. But a year ago, we sent a group down to Miami for the last Super Bowl, and if you had told me 12 months ago that we would have Tom Brady as our quarterback, the Bucs would be playing in a home Super Bowl during a pandemic, I probably would have told you were crazy. Who would have thought that 12 months later that we would be dealing with a pandemic? And it's a good thing that Tom Brady's playing in the game and that the Bucs are here. But it's been a challenging year. It's been brought a different dynamic to hosting a Super Bowl when your home team is there. Clearly, Tampa, we don't like to do anything easy. You know, when I play golf, I don't always hit it down the middle of the fairway. That would be too easy. So we're up to the challenge. Like I said, I think the most amazing part is the heavy lift of so many different agencies. And the reason it is because everybody has their level of expertise, their own lane, and we work very well together. The goal is to find a fan-friendly experience that is safe and secure for everybody. So the hope is come Monday morning, we're celebrating a Bucs victory, and no one knows who the chief of police is in the city of Tampa. If no one recognizes my face or knows my name, we had a safe, secure event, and that is the goal.
Thank you, Chief. Those are great comments. It really, you and your team have done an amazing job, and the challenges that you're facing is just, I don't think anybody really can appreciate how much work you've all done. Thank you. And last but certainly not least, Sheriff Chad Cronister.
Thank you, Chief Lanier, and welcome to Tampa. As you can imagine, it's always fun being the last person to speak when we're all saying the same thing that you've heard several different times. But on a serious note, the partnerships that have been formed, this expansive and comprehensive security plan that has been created dating back 2 years ago when we were visiting Atlanta, which evolved when we went to the Super Bowl in Miami Gardens, and that we continue to tweak on a daily basis and will continue to do so even during the game and after the game, will ensure that this is not only the most fun, but safest Super Bowl to date. I think that the response, let me back up. The security and safety of any event in any community is a responsibility that we all share. And I would be remiss if I didn't take the opportunity to remind everybody, if you see something suspicious, say something to law enforcement. Law enforcement's never going to get upset when you come and you identify something and it's unfounded. No one's going to get upset and get angry and get mad, but we sure are going to be upset when you go in front of the media and talk about how you knew something was wrong and you never came forward. So please, for those fans attending the game and visiting Tampa, find great comfort and have the utmost confidence that we are prepared. Thank you, Chief.
I think the common themes here are we adapt and adjust every single day based on information that we have, and we obviously have the people here to bring us that information that we need, and also that we are committed to doing this right and doing it well, and that we need the public to communicate with us if something looks or feels out of place so that we can be successful through this event. So with that, I will take questions. If you want to direct your question to someone specific, please announce who it is you'd like to ask the question of.
And we do have the microphones in the back here if you have a question. And for those of you on the Zoom, we remind you if you want to use the raise your hand chat function. We'll take your question momentarily. Go ahead, sir.
I have a question for the Department of Homeland Security, and I'm not sure which one of you gentlemen might be able to answer this, but you mentioned that there are seen and unseen things that are going on for security, and certainly one of the things that people have noticed this week and are commenting about it on Nextdoor and other social media apps is the low flights of a Homeland Security helicopter. It's very visible. It's much lower than the normal flights that we see from the Sheriff's Office and Tampa Police Department. And it's, it looks to be running a pattern is what people are talking about. So is there anything you can tell the public about that? Because they're certainly mentioning it.
Sure. So yes, I've seen that myself. There's a couple of efforts underway. That particular low flight is not part of the Department of Homeland Security, but another federal agency. They're normalizing the footprint of the Tampa Bay area for preparation of the Super Bowl. But what you will see from Department of Homeland Security will be our Customs and Border Protection Black Hawk helicopters, and they'll be on patrol enforcing a temporary flight restriction, particularly the lead up to the game. And that will be expanded from 10 nautical mile radius out to 30 nautical miles, as well as elevated higher. So you'll see a combination of aircraft out there. You'll see the CBP Black Hawk helicopters, as well as there are some other resources there that I can't really elaborate on.
If I may follow up for clarification, sir, you said normalizing the footprint of the Tampa Bay area. Can you break that down for me a little and explain what that means?
So what that effort is, in order to look for any kind of radiological signatures that are anomalies within the area. So there's radiation emitted through normal material, and what that effort is in order to kind of determine those normal signatures of radiation versus anything that would be abnormal.
So it's a radiological flight, essentially?
It's an effort in order to look for any kind of threat that would be posed by a radiological effort.
Thank you, sir.
Sure.
Question far right.
Yes, this one might be better for Chief Dugan or Sheriff Chronister, but is there going to be any enhanced security or patrols in neighborhoods cracking down things like large house parties and bars being crammed? Because the concerns we're hearing from our audience is they're not concerned so much about this being a super spreader event at the official festivities, but at people's homes and in bars and restaurants.
Yeah, we will have enforcement teams out there with the police department and code enforcement. Mostly code enforcement is going to be handling that. Looking more at the bars and restaurants. As far as private property, private homes, we're very limited as to what we could do on that. You know, what we are requesting is everybody be a responsible citizen. You know, this is a difficult dynamic. You know, I've said all along, we don't want to be the masked police. You know, that is really a last resort. We're going to rely on education and reminding people and just hope that everybody is a responsible citizen. You know, as someone who's been back 1 week now after having the virus, I can tell you that it is serious and people need to take it serious. But, you know, we are limited as to what we can do, and we're relying on people just being good citizens.
Question over here, left.
This is a Homeland Security type question. I'm wondering, this game's going to be happening a month after the insurrection at the Capitol. How much did that event change the course of your planning as far as who you're focusing on, domestic terrorists versus international threats? How much did you have to change your game plan to account for that?
Yeah, I'll start and then I'll turn it over to Scott to give you some more specifics. But generally, plans for events of this nature go out 18 months. And in your planning process, you look for the upper limit of what you think you might need to do to secure the event overall. And it's not just the event venue itself, but it's the surrounding area. Of course, threats change all the time, and a good plan allows you to adjust things that you had planned to do based on the threats that you're seeing. We see no specific credible threat for this event, but we want to be prepared and have resources at the ready should something like that happen, where we can support the Tampa Police Department and the Hillsborough County Sheriff. And so we constantly adjust always in things that we do, but no specific adjustments with this in the operations, but certainly a greater emphasis, as the NTAS bulletin requested of state and local, tribal and territorial law enforcement, is a greater emphasis certainly on investigative work and intelligence work with respect to those threats. And Scott, I'll just let you add anything you want.
Sure. Thank you, sir. Just to add to that, the one thing that we focus on when it comes to threat planning is the actual threat. The nature of it is of a lesser degree, so it doesn't matter if it's a ideological motivation from an international terrorist or if it's a violent extremist that was motivated in some other fashion. So we look at initially the threat itself, and then efforts in order to thwart that threat. And then as the long-term investigation goes on, the motivation becomes apparent as time goes on.
Okay, we'll go with 2 more questions, one here in the room and then one on Zoom. Your name and outlet, please.
Hi, this is Melissa Thomas with Florida National News. So this question, it piggybacks off of the details you just shared. This is both a Homeland Security and an FBI question. Obviously, as a result of the insurrection, we heard of several individuals from Florida who were involved that got arrested. Does that have any bearing also on your preparations for the Super Bowl?
Yeah, I'll start and then turn it over to Mike. But certainly, as the investigations continue, following the January 6th incident. We gather information with the FBI and rely very heavily on the FBI's investigative skills to inform us as to things that we should be alert to. That's a normal process of what we do day in and day out, and something I think that the public really expects us to do is to take a look at investigations as they're proceeding and adjust as we think we need to. And Mike, I'll just turn it over to you from an FBI perspective.
Thank you, sir. I think it's been alluded to earlier, we've been working on these plans for well over a year, and these plans do stay dynamic. It's not a static plan that we develop once and it stays there. So we're constantly looking at threats that has happened around the country, not just what happened in D.C. on January 6th, but around the world, and see where people have been successful, and then we compare that against our plan and see what adjustments we need to do. So we've been doing that. We'll continue to do that. As far as the FBI goes, we have made several arrests in the Tampa Bay area in support of investigations out of our Washington, D.C. field office. We have open investigations. We'll continue to open those, but that doesn't directly relate to the Super Bowl.
Okay, we'll take one final question, and that'll come virtually from Luke Barr, ABC News. Luke?
Hey guys, thanks so much for doing this. I have a question for David. You talked about sort of there's no credible threat. Is there any chatter on extremist sites? I mean, one of the things that was sort of looking backwards at the Capitol insurrection on the 6th was that there was some chatter on extremist sites. Is that happening? And will you be sort of identifying it? Is it hard when they're on Telegram and Signal and that kind of thing?
Yeah, it's certainly harder when they're on encrypted websites for everyone to understand what the conversation is, of course. But there is chatter. We look at the level of chatter, the trend of chatter. Some chatter is chatter that we can classify in terms of whether or not it has a level of credibility to it or not. But we're always certainly looking at social media sites and open source information and other sources of information to best inform our operations. And like everybody has already stated, events like this are planned out way in advance, and the plans are exercised, and we just simply adjust based on what we see occurring in the lead up to the event itself. But like we said earlier, there's no specific credible threat to this event, but we have been and will continue to carefully monitor the level of chatter that we see. And just, Mike, if you want to add anything onto that.
Sure, I'd just add one thing, and we say in the counterterrorism world that terrorism moves at the speed of social media, and that is both on the international and the domestic front. We are challenged by social media on many avenues. It is a wide dispersed mechanism for people to communicate, and some of it's encrypted. So it's not always easy for us to understand what's being said. We also don't sit on top of the internet and watch every communication that's happened and pull it out. So it goes back to partnership with the public. Now, if people see things that they are concerned about, we would like to know about that. There is a lot of First Amendment protections that people have, but we should worry about that. So we ask the partnership that if you see something, if you hear something, share it with us. As Chief Dugan and Sheriff Chronister mentioned, let us vet it out. That's our job. If you hand it off, you don't have to worry anymore. Let us take that burden from you and let us worry about it. Thank you.
Thank you. So I just want to reiterate, again, we've said a lot about see something, say something, and I think both the chief and the sheriff alluded to this, but if you have a doubt, dial 911, let the law enforcement sort it out. They're not inconvenienced at all, but it's very important for us as we go forward. Thank you all very much for your participation today, and we will see you at Super Bowl 55.
Thank you, everyone.
All right, buddy.